Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, a lot to get to. Mack, I want to start with kind of a human interest story. I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with Dennis Polian, and I know what he's been through, his health, his son's health, and he even actually posted a little bit about it on his Twitter feed about a week ago. But I want to tell you what he said about you and Dave Aranda and supporting him and making sure Baylor was there for him. I wanted to share that with you because he obviously had a very difficult start to this year.
Yeah, he did, and him and his family are in our thoughts and prayers, and Dennis, his family, they're good people, and just praying for him, and as he goes through all that they're going through. You mentioned his son, and then shortly thereafter his diagnosis, and again just praying for him, and again good people, and praying for their road back to 100% health.
So the last time we had you on, until you skipped town, the discussion was, we've discussed NIL with you. We've discussed NIL state laws, NCAA laws, and all that rules. But there was the discussion about baseball. And obviously they've had elite players leave, Trey Richardson, and then now Colby Branch, who's gone as well, who just, by the way, committed to Georgia. And I thought I kind of heard in your voice that stay tuned. We're working on this. Chad Jackson, Joe Vaughn, Mack Rhoades, or whatever. Is that something you're closer to be able to say what you're working on?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. First, and I think the Baylor family knows that baseball is really, really important to us. We have unbelievable tradition and history. Mitch, himself, previously was certainly a big part of that, and knows and understands it as well as anybody. We play in a conference where baseball is really important. Big 12 is usually every year top 2 in RPI, top 3. This year it was 3, and so it's an important part of who we are, and what Baylor athletics has been over a long period of time. And so we knew that when we hired Mitch, that it was going to be a process to rebuild and to build a program that one was had sustainable success, where we're going to regionals every year, and quite frankly, not only do we want to go to regionals every year, we want to host them every year, and so we've got some work to do, and I think we've got work to do in a lot of different areas. Certainly, name, image, and likeness. Our facilities. We're behind our peers when you think about the student athlete aspect, the hitting, pavilion, indoor hitting facility, clubhouse, training room, video room, some of those things, right, that we need to catch up on. And we've got a lot of projects going on, and so we've been having to prioritize when you think about the Foster Pavilion in the Fudge, football development center. So all of those things, are on our mind. I think, when it comes to the name, image, and likeness space, I think there've been really, positive conversations with former players that want to help out in that space. And, we have, I shouldn't say we, but GXG, I think in the future we'll have, certainly monies available in that space. And I think that's sooner rather than later. And we didn't just start talking about it or working on it, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, right? It's been a conversation that we've had, and I don't know. I think it's the world we're living in. You've got some top end guys throughout the country that are going into the portal. You look at the ACC Freshman of the Year, Clemson freshman shortstop, and somebody leaving from Alabama and Duke, and the Tennessee pitchers up in the air, and the South Carolina shortstop. And so I don't think it's unique to Baylor. I think we're all going through it. Texas Tech, so I think we're all kind of managing and dealing with it. So then, we've had some donors step up. We had a recent, 7-figure gift, for baseball that, we are not ready to announce yet with detail. There's, process that we have to go through, but, I think that will at least, address one of our needs when we think about facility. So, a lot of good stuff. We'll have raised, just about $3.8 million, up to this point in time. And again, we still need to do a lot more, but, we're on our way. And again, we want to make sure that Baylor baseball has a chance to be competitive, nationally relevant. We've got the right people. That's where it starts. We talk about it's not about what we have. It's about who we are and the people we are. And so we absolutely have the right person in place when you think about Coach Thompson and the staff. And you do need those things as well. And we're working on it. So we're in a good place, and we'll continue to push and move forward.
Mack, just for a little clarity, so you mentioned you're not ready to release details, but a 7-figure donation for baseball, correct? And then you mentioned the $3.8 million. What's that $3.8 million?
Yeah, that would include that gift and some other gifts that we've received, and so
for baseball.
For baseball.
Okay.
Yeah, specific for baseball, and we again, you have to go through university processes and some of those things, and so we'll get to a place here. I think it's hard over the summer, but as we get into the fall, we'll be able to talk more specifically about it. Maybe sooner, but that's probably when we begin to think about when we'll talk more publicly and provide more detail. But all of that is going to help, and as we continue to think about Baylor baseball and its future. But I certainly think that it's got a bright future.
Mack, Mitch Thompson, when he was at MCC, was really fantastic at raising money for his program. And I'm sure that was, outside of just his baseball acumen, something attractive to you guys when you hired him. How much did you notice that? And how much do coaches in sports like baseball that are the non-revenue sports nowadays have to be even better at doing that hustling and fundraising that maybe even in the past?
Yeah. Paul, I think, your trip to Hawaii made you smarter. That's great insight. No, I think you're right. It's important, and for some of those coaches to have a comfort level with developing those types of relationships and helping and assisting in the fundraising area. And it's not why we hired Mitch, but it was certainly, a bonus when we thought about, his skill set and his relationships that he has, certainly within the community, within Waco, and with a lot of our donor base, and then obviously former players, and so he has a role in it, and he has an important role in it, and Mitch isn't afraid to roll up his sleeves and be part of that, and help make things happen. And I think some of the best head coaches in the country, and in particular coaches that don't coach football and indoor men's or women's basketball, they just make stuff happen. They make stuff happen by relationships and by getting people involved in the program, supporting the program. And Mitch has been doing that since he stepped foot on campus, his second time around, and he's a big part of it and will be a big part of that success.
Mack, this doesn't have to do with specifically like baseball or Mitch Thompson or anything like that. Just more of a general NIL question. In your experience so far, how realistic are most student athletes with the concept of NIL? Like, is there a general understanding of like, hey, this is typically the way it's talked about publicly is your 5-star quarterback or your 5-star guard? But it seems like in some ways there's almost just this idea brewing that, hey, if you're a college athlete, there's an expectation that you're just going to make money. How have you guys dealt with that? And is it the way I described, or is it perhaps not that extreme as far as there being realistic expectations for athletes across the board?
Yeah, Craig, that's an interesting conversation. And so, I don't know that, that my opinion, covers it all, but what I see and certainly what I hear, I think we are setting it up, not with all sports, but with some sports, this fantasy world, that's not reality. And so I do think that this idea of expectations, that they're exaggerated, and I don't think it's about name, image, and likeness. I don't even think that's where it goes. I think that's just it goes straight to when am I going to get paid? And that's the world we're living in. And because we have very, very few guardrails, because we've got 30 plus states with their own laws, we even now have, at least 3 states, maybe more, in the last week, but at least 3 states that, some of what their amendment, is in direct conflict, contradicts the Texas is one of those states, right? And so, I want to be careful because, it's a broad statement, but certainly in at least, couple of sports, it's unrealistic. And do I support? Do I want student athletes to be able to earn money? Absolutely, but I don't think it's being done responsibly. And I think in the long run, if this continues, we're going to end up doing more harm than good for our young people.
Mack, a couple of things that we forget about with a student athlete, 3.3 spring semester GPA, highest, I think, in the spring, and then also on record. And then I think it's 30 consecutive semesters of a GPA of 3.0 or better. And I think people would say, well, that's Baylor, that's probably expected, but you never take anything for granted, do you?
No, you don't. And, when this is my, 4th athletic director job, I believe. And And so I say that only because I've been at some different places, and I've been doing this for a while, and to be consistently over a 3.0 GPA, that just doesn't happen everywhere, and you're right. It's been 30 consecutive semesters. It's been 25 with a 3.1 term GPA. You're right when you talk about this spring 3.3 being the highest ever. Those things are important, and we certainly get caught up in the wins and the losses, and those are really, really important. We get caught up in name, image, and likeness. But the one thing that we better never ever forget about and make sure and understand that is continues to be important, remain important, is the education piece, and graduating our young people, challenging them to do the really very, very best that they can in a classroom, just like they do on a field or on a court, right? That's our responsibility. And, in all of this conversation where sometimes I get frustrated is we all have seemed to have forgotten the value of education. And we all know the statistics in terms of, people with a degree, people with a postgraduate degree. I just, I sincerely hope and pray we never forget or lose sight of the value of education. And if you come to Baylor, you're going to have to be both a student and an athlete.
Mack, saw a lot of discussion online today, and we're going to have a sports attorney on here in a little while talking about just kind of the lines in the sand that are sort of being drawn in regards to the NCAA. And I know we had some of this discussion last week about Texas state law, and you said yourself that you being Baylor as an athletic department are not going to risk crossing NCAA laws and then paying for it later just because Texas law says something currently. But there's other schools that obviously are going to just blow past that and say, hey, state law trumps NCAA law. Is this, and I know we're always kind of like, is this the line in the sand, or is this the straw that breaks the camel's back? But the state laws versus NCAA laws debate, do you see this as something that's going to be super divisive and could potentially be kind of a crack in the current structure?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Craig, and I think it's going to be, interesting, fascinating, I think, for me to see how it plays out. Right. And, I think the NCAA is going to be potentially put into a position where if, any of these institutions within these states where they have law that contradicts, NCAA rules, bylaws, right? If they, go ahead and make that intentional decision to do that, I think it's going to be, all about how does the NCAA react to it, and are there consequences, and how does that play out? Are we going to get into a point in time and place, almost like UNLV? They had the lawsuit against the NCAA, Jerry Tartania, for years. Is that where we're going to head? We either want, I try to be simple, but we either want a governing organization or we don't. Mm-hmm. And if we do, and they've got rules and regulate them, then we need to follow, right? Even the ones maybe we don't like. And if we don't like those, then let's work to change those. But for now, we've all decided that we want a governing organization, and that is the NCAA. And we can sit here for hours and hours and hours and debate the good and bad. And I have a lot of frustration with the NCAA. We could do 3 segments on that alone. But at the end of the day, we've all decided that is our governing organization. They've got rules in place. We need to live by those. And unless we decide, hey, we want to change. And so it's a great question, Craig, and we'll be interested to see, how things play out. What type of repercussions can there be? Like when you think about football, the NCAA does not, govern FBS postseason football. It does FCS, but not FBS. It does, men's and women's basketball and those championships, along with the rest of the championships of its sponsor sport. So it's going to be intriguing, and the NCAA has already come out, as you all know, and has said the expectations are that you follow the NCAA rules.
Mack, you have been heavily involved since Brett Yormark began as the commissioner, and before that too, among some others within the conference. And I believe that he probably, I don't know if the correct word is leaned on you, or you guys have spent a lot of time together. The Big 12 is about to add these 4 teams on Friday at midnight, and we've had all of the schools on in some way, former players, analysts, broadcasters, ADs, or whatever. You also are in demand, and I've asked you this before, but you are in heavy demand, and rightfully so. Are you wanting to make sure that you're with the Big 12 through this and into the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're talking about, so for me, I think a couple things. I think one, for me, I truly believe, my responsibility, today, this very day is to position Baylor as best, we can, because it's a we proposition, not an I, that we can for today and well into the future. And so, I think, I've been blessed and fortunate enough that Brett has involved me in a lot of conversation and have had, a lot of conversations, spent a lot of time together. And then certainly my involvement with the NCAA, obviously, Dr. Livingstone's as well. But that's my job. That's my role. It's my passion. I care about this place deeply. I care about, our people, our student athletes. And so, just trying to navigate all of that, find a way to best position us and making sure that, we continue to evolve and change. There's technical leadership and there's adaptive leadership. And I think we live in a day and an age right now, this chaotic time where technical, answers, solutions aren't always the best, and can't always solve the problem. Now, for some issues, items, they can, but, we better, as leaders be thinking about how we adapt, how we change. We're in a time and place where the one thing that you cannot do is not change. And so how we continue to do that and navigate it, I think is part of the challenge and is what, quite frankly, excites me. The more we have going on, the happier I am.
And can you sense from everybody, because we sure can, that the 4 incoming schools cannot wait till midnight on Friday?
Yeah, I think they're excited. I think that they're grateful. I think obviously they make us better, stronger, and I know that I cannot wait for them to be part of our conference now officially. And I think again the Big 12 has a really, really bright future.
Mack, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics on 365 Sports. We're going